Part 2 of our pig shelter. We're going to get the wall on today, starting with our smallest diameter logs out here on the end where they have the least support underneath the main beam, and working towards our larger diameter as we go. We want to spike this one in here to start. And now, using the square, we'll do it the best we can to try to make this a 90-degree off of this log here. And then that should keep the rest of our logs relatively straight as we go. To account for the narrowing diameter of our logs, I'm just going to try to make sure that I'm square here each time with the top log. And that's just going to leave a bit of a gap between each one. If you don't do this, then as you go, all of your logs are going to end up crowded over to one side. It's not going to work out well. The only other thing you can do is turn the base this way and run them back and forth at opposites to one another. Just a preference thing, but I'd like to keep them all the same diameter roughly coming up. We're 12 logs in now, and probably a third of the roof is covered. We are 20 logs in on our roof, and we're just over halfway. I used up all my shorter lengths coming out this far in order to get past this tree here. Now I'm going to put on my longest lengths, and that's also to give the option of having a little bit more roof coverage out here, so that if I have a roosting bar in underneath, I can better protect the chickens from the weather. Up until this point, we've used all 4-inch spikes, so that tells you that the diameter of all of these logs is no more than about 3.5 inches. There's no sense in me filming all of this. It's just the same repetitive action over and over again. But I filmed it a few times just to give an idea of how long it takes me per log to put them on. And then I usually speed my videos up by about 3 times just to make it bearable to watch. We're now 27 logs in on the roof, and that means we need about 13 more, I figure, to do it. This is what I'm down to now in my supply for logs, so it's getting pretty low, and I've now moved into logs that are more than a 3.5 to 4-inch diameter, so I have to use 5-inch spikes now down at the bottom end of each log. It takes me about 5 minutes minimum to peel a log, sometimes more depending on the condition of it, and you don't want to really do this all at once, so you come over and do a few of them and then go do a little bit of the carpentry and go back and forth. And as you do that, you pick out the diameter that you want for your next few logs and try to keep it as consistent as you can along your roof line. Now, this is a lot of work, of course, to do this, but anything I build now will last a lot longer than if I left the bark on them. We're onto the front wall of the pig shelter now, and I'm trying to find a log for the base of it. This tree's been down for a long time. I don't know how it got overlooked, but it's a nice diameter tree. Now we get a look underneath the bark and see how it looks. And there's the reddish hues of a somewhat rotting tree. Still seems pretty solid. The end here looks pretty good. This is the first time I've ever used hardwood trees to support a structure, primarily because gray birch is known to rot. The bark is waterproof and it doesn't allow the moisture to escape. So I've decided to try peeling my two main support logs here in the hope that they'll dry out and go solid as opposed to rot. Now I still can't control so much what happens at the base of each tree, but up here I can take off all of the bark. This is not something you usually have to do with hardwood trees because you just split them and that allows the air in to dry the piece of wood and the bark stays on. Just an interesting thing to note from peeling my main logs here. And if I were to cut a large diameter birch tree and take the time to peel it well, I think I could probably get my roofing material for this shelter out of some birch trees. Roosting bar goes on next. For that we're going to measure down 2 feet from here and make a mark on either side. That should be about 4 feet off the ground. My chickens should be able to get up there no problem and still have lots of headroom. Now the bar is going to be on the inside of the shelter. This side over here I'm going to situate using the level. My next bar I'm just going to eye out roughly where I think it should go. This bar is going to serve two purposes. I don't want my pigs coming and going underneath where my chickens are roosting and pooping all the time. So this bar is meant to keep the pigs back and entering and exiting through either end. And then this is also here to help the chickens come up at night. So we've staggered them. This one's on the outside of the poles, which gives you a few inch diameter to help them to come up to this bar here. And then this bar is going to be situated in a little bit further underneath the roof and the main beam here to try to help keep the chickens dry and out of the weather. We're going to make this open on both sides. If it were winter time, I could always seal off one side to try to block out the wind and make it a little bit more comfortable for them. But for now, in the summertime, we're just going to leave both ends open and then the pigs can come and go at will. We put in a main sill here on the front of the shelter. That's level. It's also an equal width out from the main sill in the back of the shelter, and it's up on rocks to keep everything preserved here. We then have our step up and our roosting bar to keep our chickens high enough and away from predators. I'm going to saw this off next, and we have to build our wall over to this here pole, and we're going to seal in this part of the shelter. This log here will be sitting on a flat stone down here at the bottom to preserve the end so that it won't rot. And now we're going to support the end of our beam over here by crisscrossing these two poles. We're now going to crisscross like this and nail into the main beam and nail in through here, and that's just going to provide a little bit of additional support out on either end. And it also creates a bit of a wall here for the pigs to go around so that they don't disturb the foundation stones down in here. With this pole here on a rock at the bottom, we're going to try to square it. Almost took out the camera. We're going to try to square it with our sill log here at the bottom. That looks like it right there. And I don't have my hammer. We are now onto the front wall, and for this I get to use up a lot of my really small diameter wood. Anything that was fairly straight but too small a diameter for 2x4, I'm able to use up on the outside of this wall. We just want to get our poles square with our sill down here. And then these are going to nail into both the top and bottom, and that's going to give our main beam even more strength. That any weight is going to come down through these logs as well and transfer into the rock here at the bottom. So these logs here then provide more strength to the structure as well as more cover for the pigs inside. You can see what we have going on here with the wall. Again, we're going to bring that right over to here to enclose this section for the pigs. I'm going to leave part 2 of our build here for tonight because I just don't have the time to skin a bunch of these little logs to put up here. So I'll do that over the next couple days, and then part 3 we'll move on to cladding this and the roof on the other side to try to keep the water out. I would change the height a little bit. I measured my main beams here at 6 feet, I believe, and on the inside that just gives me enough room to walk in here where I'm not hitting my head. If I build another shelter, I think I'd raise this up a few more inches for my own head height. And also, if I wanted to use this shelter also for a cow someday, I would just have to take off these 2 bars. But now, because I have a beam here at the bottom, I'm going to have to do some landscaping with some rock and bring it up to level with this here so that a cow could walk right in, straight into the shelter. And with that said, it's going to build it up to this height, and I think the entire structure should have been a bit higher for the cow's head to come in here and have some clearance back in underneath the weather a little ways. Beyond that though, I think this is going to work out well. The build so far has cost $0 other than the cost of the nails. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching.